Again, beautiful souls, and welcome to Anna and Cara Messages of the Soul Friend. I'm Amanda, and as usual, I'm still a reluctant messenger. Um, Spirit's been at me all morning, and even yesterday after the video I posted, I was getting, the impulses to come back on and speak about, the importance of our inner child and nurturing it, and I've been like dismissing it and all morning they've been at me, and of course then they've obviously gotten on to other people, because then I started receiving a load of synchronistic messages from people that would be kind of tying in to the freeze of what Spirit's trying to bring through me. So here I am. Now I don't know, I'm going to just shuffle a few cards as I speak and we'll see what comes out. um but they keep giving me a flash of, and I can't find it. I went looking on Facebook. I had seen something the other day in relation to it, about honoring our inner child, because it's our inner child that's the key to moving forward. As children, we looked at the world with a sense of wonder. We didn't look through the eyes of skepticism and fear. We weren't conditioned. It took time. It took years for the grown-ups. And again, nobody meant any harm, but they did the best they could with the level of awareness that they knew how. And it's really important now that we start looking at life and the world through the eyes of an innocent child, an unwounded child. And sadly, most of us have had very traumatic experiences. And that's caused us, as children, we learned to develop, coping mechanisms and strategies, which helped us survive, and they were wonderful. But now a lot of those mechanisms and strategies, they no longer serve our highest good. And, we're grown ups now. Like, we're not little children. And yet, you know, I'm guilty of this myself, and I'm noticing more and more grown-ups who, when faced with a challenge or confrontation, or something that triggers their wounded inner child, they just resort back to being little children. So the outward appearance, the outward reality would appear that you've two grown-ups rowing, but you see, it's actually two little children, two wounded little children in adult bodies, who are and coming from a place of hurt and woundedness, which actually isn't the reaction to the present circumstances in the right here, right now. Um, and this is becoming increasingly obvious to me. I am not a psychologist or psychotherapist. I'm not trained in this, but I feel it, I can see it, I'm witnessing it. And my interactions with other people, the conversations I'm having with other people, are all revealing this to me. And Spirit just keeps going on, and again went so far as to teach me a really strong lesson myself in the last week, which brought up an awful lot of stuff of my own wounded little girl. And I finally realized I'm not that child. I'm not that frightened child who was never heard, who was sexually abused from the age of 4 or 5 up to early teens. Like, I'm not the woman who's being raped. I'm not the battered wife anymore. I'm not that single mom with no support. Like, I've lived through all of these things. I'm not that. I'm not the renal patient anymore. I'm somebody that, I have kidney disease, but do you know what? So what? That doesn't mean I can't live my life and enjoy every moment right here, right now. Don't have to let all of that survival instinct, all of those, awful experiences, the overwhelm, the feeling of being unsupported, unheard, misunderstood. And again, there's these great lessons been coming up for me lately, and they've been hard ones, really, really tough, where, I'm being very clear. I know what I'm saying, but I'm not being heard and I'm not being understood. And then, bam, it hit me. I already know this. But again, in my emotional hurricane, I lost sight of some of the knowledge and wisdom that I hold within. And, once I realized, oh, there's no point in trying to explain because they cannot hear me. Somebody who is caught up and entangled in the lower frequency vibrations, in the heavier, denser stuff, of shame, blame, guilt, anger, frustration, all of those frequencies, they're heavier. And when you're trapped in that, you cannot understand anything coming from a higher vibration. However, a higher vibration will always understand the lower vibrational frequencies because they've come up through it. They've already lived them, they understand them. And, it made me really aware, of how during the ordeal I experienced last week, that although I was having my own traumas triggered and a healing crisis, I still had enough awareness to recognize that this was all children, not adults. This was all children kicking off. And, it's made me realize just how strong I actually am because I'm an empath as well, which means I feel other people's frequencies, and a lot of the time, actually, most of the time, a lot of people's words do not match. They're not in alignment with their frequencies. And I think I may have mentioned this in a previous video at some point, um, where, sorry, chakra clearing, it caught my eye. Archangel Metatron, call upon me to clear and open your chakras using sacred geometric shapes. And again, sacred geometry, that was one of the first things that hit me last year when I began channeling more clearly and understanding and accepting that I am actually a channel because I've been denying it all my life. And thanks, Metatron. I did ask actually for him to assist me earlier. Now, okay, where was I? I know I go off on tangents. So, yeah, so in the height, even during all of that, and in the height of my own, emotional hurricane, I still had enough awareness to be aware that the other parties involved were also experiencing their own triggers, and their own kind of past, whether it's childhood, teenage, young adult, 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever age you are. But again, past aspects of the self that had been wounded. And, again, we've developed ways of coping. For me, it was always, I'm like the warrior. I would just and I would shut down and I would not feel. Nothing could penetrate my armor. Now I've had to rip that armor away, which has me feeling very vulnerable. But it is necessary because, I have to be authentic. I have to be transparent because a lot of the people I've been dealing with already know me. So they just see my face and hear my voice, and they're missing the fact that sometimes what's coming through me, it's not coming from Amanda, the personality, Amanda, the woman that they've known for whatever length of time. What's coming through and out of my mouth is actually coming from spirit, from source. It's coming through my soul. And, I've learned to recognize that, I used to get so uncomfortable. It's like, why am I feeling this impulse to say this to this person I don't know? But, the words, they just come sometimes. And I'd be like gritting my teeth and cringing in awe. But then people always turn around and went, oh my God, that's exactly what I needed to hear. I've actually been praying to my angels, or I've been going to mass to pray, or been lighting candles, or, and I've been asking. You've literally just answered the question I've been asking all week. So, I'm learning to kind of trust in myself and go with it now as a result of that. So, and it's not easy, although I know now what I'm capable of, and I have witnessed people transforming as they align with themselves and connect into themselves and the power within. Um, I still have all those insecurities from a lifetime of trauma and no support. Now I understand now. I was always supported. Spirit was always there for me. I just didn't know it at the time. And they really want to get a message through at the moment about the importance of everybody becoming aware of this inner child within, the wounded parts of ourselves. Because there are energetic shifts. And again, I'm not an astrologist. I don't understand all that astrology stuff, but I feel it. I do know there are connections. It's linked in, it affects us, just like the moon cycles can affect the tides. Um, and it does affect us. It has an impact on us. I can feel it. Same thing, like sometimes I go out on a clear night because it makes me happy to do so. And it's beautiful to see the stars. And like recently I've had to move somewhere very rural, so there's no light pollution. And like it lights me up. It's like, oh my God, look at those stars. They're magnificent. They're beautiful. And there was one evening I was just gazing at them, and suddenly it was like all these lines started connecting them. Now I know the Big Dipper is the one like a big pot with a handle, and the Little Dipper is similar, but again, I don't know their names or any of that stuff. But what I began to see was lines joining them up. I was seeing constellations. I've no idea what they were. Some things were coming to me and some weren't. I thought it was kind of going a bit crazy at the time. But I also got this really strong sense and awareness of, sometimes people talk about planets aligning. And you see, every one of these are frequencies, just like each of us are frequencies. We're energetic beings. So everything is frequency. And the skies, the stars, the planets, it's moving around as the Earth is moving. And again, I'm not a scientist, so forgive me if I'm not using the right technological terms. I can only share my perception from my level of awareness and what I can articulate through my own life experience. So I became acutely aware then that these are energies, and when some of these then come into alignment with each other, and I know there's all different times and dates and things like that involved in it, but then frequencies can intensify. Frequencies, say, join together, like they kind of go into union with each other, so that their energies intensify. And like there seems to be something like that happening. And there's energies intensifying. I've also heard people talking about the Schumann resonance, which is something to do with the Earth's frequency, the planet frequency. And that's meant to be spiking and rising. And, I've recently become aware of so many people are having an awful lot of experiences that are triggering old wounds. They're being triggered left, right, and center. And I believe Spirit is here now to let you know you're not alone. This is happening to a lot of people, and it's not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. It's a wonderful opportunity to finally face it. And again, we're all so terrified to feel our emotions. We've all gotten to a point where we don't want to feel it, so we want to push it away. But you see, in the resistance, then it keeps coming and it's smacking, which is why we feel bad, because we're getting impacted. And I was reminded of that, in the last week or so, because, there are times I can see things coming and it's like, no. And it goes around me, doesn't hit me. But because I had crumbled and gotten lost in my own abyss, I was a little bit more vulnerable. And I don't know, my force field, whatever you want to describe it, but my auric field, my energetic body was not quite as strong as it would usually be, and that it has been over the last year or two. And I was beginning to feel things, little hits. Now, sometimes it feels like a dart, sometimes it feels like an absolute punch. And then, say, a text message would come in, or, a phone call. And again, energetically, I was receiving what was coming at me split seconds before, the phone would ping or ring. Um, and again, this is something that happens to all of us, whether we're aware of it or not. Now, thankfully, everything is balanced and restored. And somebody contacted me this morning, and all I got was the slightest, that comfortable, familiar little tingle in my third eye. And it was always well. It wasn't a dart. It wasn't anything that's like, oh, it hits you. And it's making me realize, that what I did, I need to share with others so that it might help you also to deal with your wounded inner child and the stuff that bubbles up. Because there are things, there are energies and frequencies at play that we don't really understand. And you know what? We don't actually need to fully understand them. We just need to be aware that it is happening, and then have faith. And Spirit wants me to remind you that you have already survived every trauma and painful experience in your life. You are already out the other side. However, in order to survive at the time, because you were in survival mode for so long, you were locking it down and you were repressing what you were feeling. And it is so important now that as these emotions start bubbling up, stop panicking, stop being afraid of it. Yes, it feels like crap, but I promise you, if you surrender, if you allow it to just bubble up, if you allow it to flow through you, if you allow your tears, and again, tears are so powerful. They're like 1% water and 99% emotion, frequency, energy in motion. This is how we purge the body of all of that pain and trauma that's trapped. Sorry, they're giving me the full body goosebumps there now again. This is how we release all of that pain and trauma that we have held deep in our bodies, that we've refused to feel. And it is safe now for you to feel it. Yes, it will be uncomfortable for a little while until it passes. But if you surrender and allow, eventually you get to that state where you're all cried out, that point of, emotional exhaustion. And it's when you get into that state where you just relax, the body flops, it kind of lets go. You're not holding yourself rigid and tight in your warrior mode anymore. You've kind of like, the storm has passed. Then your inner guidance starts coming through much more clearly. Your inner guidance is always there. Your soul. Yesterday, the cards were coming up about, that inner soul sister. It's the divine feminine energy. It's the yin energy. Your yang self is your external, the masculine energy, the doing, doing, doing. But the yin energy is the within energy. It's the receptive. It's the intuitive. It's the emotional aspects. And now is the time where we need to bring these into balance. And we talk an awful lot about our soul, and we talk about ego. And again, I don't know if I'm, accurate in choosing terminology or the words, but it's coming to me a lot that our egos are actually our inner child. Because again, when we're coming from a place of ego, it's usually trying to prove a point. It's, look at me, I'm great. And again, that comes from learned behavior, learned survival techniques and mechanisms that we developed. So again, this is about giving your inner child instead of chastising that inner brat. Because do you know what? That wasn't really in their nature. They weren't understood. They weren't heard. They didn't have somebody to sit down and explain to them how to be, how to live, how to honor their emotions, how to honor what they're feeling, to acknowledge it. Instead, they were kind of conditioned, big girls don't cry, big boys don't cry, suck it up, stop that, or I'll give you something to cry about. Or, like, do you get where I'm going with this? And we were never shown how to process and learn from our emotional reactions. And, once upon a time, we did understand this. There's a lot of phrases and sayings, like, say, a 3-year-old gets scratched by a cat because it was yanking its tail. You know, somebody would come along, clean the wound, and talk to them, and, you know, from a place of compassion and love, say, now, let that be a lesson to you. And in that moment, you would understand that yanking on a cat's tail is not really a good idea. And maybe next time, don't do that. But instead, we've become, you know, so stressed and distracted and fragmented with so many other distractions, like, you know, TV, deadlines, you know, blah, 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 whatever things that are distracting you. It's different for everybody. But we're not present anymore. And nowadays, in a lot of cases, not all, but in a lot of cases now, if a child gets scratched or something, it's like, oh, we cleaned that up and now let that be a lesson to you. Same words, same message. But you see, when it's delivered in the frequency, when it's delivered in the frequency of frustration or irritation or your own fear, you know, sometimes people, they're trying to give words of comfort to somebody who is struggling. And witnessing somebody in pain, for some people, can be incredibly challenging because it triggers their own inner child. It triggers their own sense of, it reminds them of all the times in their life when they were powerless to help. But you know, sometimes people don't need your words. Sometimes just be in silence, hold a hand, just be present, witness them, let them know they're not alone. You don't have to correct them. You don't have to tell them, oh, stop it, that's just the old stuff coming up. Like, don't dismiss what people are feeling. It's time for us to honor ourselves and each other in our emotional experiences. And again, perception. Perception keeps coming through. And I mentioned yesterday again about a friend who's terrified of butterflies, who most people think are beautiful and wonderful and would love to have them come and land on their finger and marvel at it. But that does not take away from the reality of, for that woman, butterflies are one of the most terrifying things in the world to her. So dismissing it and telling her she's stupid or silly for being silly, for being frightened of something that most would consider something wonderful, that really doesn't help. In fact, that actually makes it much, much worse. And I'm sure you can all think of many examples where, you know, something is happening and you see you're caught up in your own perspective. You're looking for your own way to soothe your own inner child, that you don't stop to recognize that other people involved or the other person or whatever is having their own emotional reaction to the experience because they're experiencing it differently to you. And we really, really do need to try and start becoming a little bit more aware of that. We are not responsible for how other people feel. When that emotion comes bubbling up, it's important that we own it. It's important that we recognize that it's our own stuff. It's not a case of, you made me just feel. No, your actions, behavior, or whatever may have just triggered something. But what you're feeling, it is your own. And it's your own stuff that's unhealed. It's your own stuff that's still unacknowledged. It's your own stuff that, you know, people you wanted to hear you, they didn't hear you. Not because they're horrible, nasty people, because they didn't understand. They didn't know any better. And now it's time for us to start looking within. Stop looking outside for somebody to come and rescue us. Stop looking externally for the answers, because the answers are not out there. Other people cannot do your work for you. Other people can't walk your path. Other people cannot tell you what's right for you and what's not. Only you know that, and only you decide that. But as long as you're allowing your wounds, your childhood wounds, to control you and influence your adult life, you're fighting against yourself. And I had a message from somebody today about, there's a bird, you know, pecking on the glass and flying at the glass. And, you know, it took me a while. It didn't come. I went to go look up spiritual meanings. I was trying to identify what kind of bird it was first because they sent the video. And then it hit me. Boom. The message is you're fighting your own reflection. And see, that's what most of us do. You know, we're so critical of our inner child, of our inner selves. Look at you. What are you getting so emotional for? What are you getting upset? Stop that. You know better. Like this inner, negative inner self-talk that we do, it's so destructive to us. And it's time now, instead, to change our focus. Be the person for yourself, for your inner child. Be the person that they needed during those traumatic experiences, those painful experiences, those moments where you felt wounded or abandoned or lost and alone. Spend time with that little boy or girl inside. Acknowledge them. Thank them. Because you know what? They got you to where you are today. You've already survived it all. There is nothing to fear. You've already survived it. So please, I implore you, find the courage to turn and face your inner child. Find the courage to parent and nurture that wonderful, divine little soul who came into this world with a sense of wonder and excitement, who looked at the world with, oh, what's that? Curiosity, wanting to check things out. Because you know what? We've become oh so serious. We're actually pinching ourselves off. That's where the pleasure is. How good does it feel when you go off, say, for a walk in the forest or on a beach? You know, you let go of stresses and worries. You just be present. That's what children do. Children aren't playing and, you know, worrying about what's going on, what are mommy and daddy doing. And yeah, if there's a row kicking off, obviously, yes, children are aware and, you know, can be frightened by those frequencies. But I'm talking on a general day. Children are fully present in the moment and what they're doing, whether they're painting, drawing, playing with toys, just lying there doodling, you know, mindlessly wiggling their fingers and toes, while us grown-ups turn around and go, stop that, stop fidgeting, sit still. You see, the children know. Children know that when we've got frequencies trapped in the body, when we experience stuff throughout the day, it actually gets caught up in our physical selves sometimes. If we don't release it, if we don't acknowledge it, we don't allow ourselves to feel it and let it go, it begins to stagnate within our body and eventually it becomes pain. And children know this. Children are so aware of this. And you know this until you shut it out, until you listen to the grown-ups tell you that you were wrong. You knew when you were small. Wiggle your legs, kick your legs, you know, move. Let whatever is happening throughout the day release and clear. Watch the animals, they know this too. You'll see them often, you know, shake and stretch and move. If you ever seen an animal, you know, after some kind of an accident or if they've been hit by something, you know, they actually allow themselves the shudder, the shake. They release all of that energy, they release that trauma, and then boom, they're gone. But they have enough wisdom and awareness to allow it, to release, to let it go. But we humans, no, we do the opposite. Most of us go, oh, we're braced for it. Can't feel this, don't want to feel this. Fight it, fight it, fight it. Have to get through this, have to get through this. I'll be okay. Why is this always happening to me? But we stay in that heavy frequency. And again, we're holding all of that trauma within the body. And that does affect us. It affects us greatly. And now, Spirit wants you to know that it is time to let that go. You have free will. You can choose not to, and that's okay. But for those of you who are trying to free yourselves, who are trying to consciously make a difference, who are reaching for, you know, manifesting a better reality for themselves, I'm speaking to you, and I implore you, Stop being afraid of your emotions. You have already survived it. You are already right here, right now, having overcome it all. You are not going to relive the actual experience, but you do need to acknowledge the feelings, the emotion that your little boy or girl within experienced. You need to acknowledge them. You need to let them know that they are seen, that they are heard, and they are understood. And that now they are safe, they are loved, and they are taken care of by you, by adult you. You are the parent you needed when you were younger. So please, I implore you, go parent your inner child. Give them the love, compassion, and understanding that you needed but didn't receive. And again, let me reiterate, not because the people that cared for you were evil, nasty people. They were not. They were doing the best that they knew how with their own level of awareness, their own understanding. They learned from their parents how to express love, etc., etc. And sadly, as the world has gotten busier and busier and full of more distractions, we've lost our connection with ourselves because we're distracted. So, cards. Let's see. You got time to go. The sun sets and rises each day. And it's the same with the avenues of your life. See the beauty. Sorry, I'm getting the tingles again. See the beauty within each sunset in your life. And know that the sun will also rise again tomorrow. Endings are merely the start of a new beginning. And we are with you through each phase and cycle. And again, look at that angel in flight, bearing the light, bringing the beacon, lighting the way. And again, it's time to let go of the past. It's time to let the sun set on the pain and the anguish. And it is time to bear witness to the sunrise. Easy there. Sorry. They're giving it to me so strongly, it's a little overwhelming. In a good way, like it's a love that's washing through me right now. And it still overwhelms me in its beauty and its exquisiteness. And it's one, I just wonder at it. It's marvelous. But we are being guided and we are being urged. It is time to turn, witness the sunset, acknowledge it, thank it for all the lessons. Because even the worst of traumas, and as I've mentioned, I've had some pretty horrific ones. I wouldn't wish them on anybody. However, I see the blessings. Those awful experiences, those traumas, have gifted me a wonderful ability to look other people in the eye and say, I know, I hear you. Me too. And they know I'm not just trying to pacify them or stop their tears. They know that I genuinely do see and hear them. And I can feel them because I've been there. Those frequencies are very familiar to me. But by facing my own inner child, by nurturing her, I'm able to hold that space. I'm able to sit with them without getting hysterical. I'm able to sit and not tell them, stop that now, come on. You have to shake yourself off now. No, I will sit with you and I will hold your hand and I will tell you it's okay to cry. It is okay to acknowledge how you felt. It is okay to let the sun set on the past. Because by acknowledging that emotion, and again, look at all this ocean, water frequencies, it's all about emotion. And again, the oceans are deep. This is about deep emotion. but the light will guide your way. You are being guided. Spirit has your back. You can trust. It is safe for you now to witness the sunset, secure in the knowledge that the sun will rise again, because it always does. Those are the cycles of life. And again, ebb and flow, the infinity symbol, it keeps coming. It's like with the tides. You know, the sand on the beach as the tide goes out doesn't go, oh, don't go, come back, don't leave me. There's no sense of abandonment there, because the sand on the beach already knows and has faith that the tide will turn again. Because again, that is the ebb and flow of life. And that happens through nature. It happens with us. If we're just willing to notice it and acknowledge it and have faith in it. And you see, when you can see this, when you understand this, when you can feel the sense of peace and tranquility that comes with having faith and learning to understand the universal laws, life just gets better and better. And once again, I will own it. I have not mastered any of this. I still have wobbles. Because do you know something? Sometimes it's like a healing spiral. It's not like going full circle. It's a spiral. And you think you can have cleared and healed past issues till something else happens that can just trigger it all again. And then you realize there's more stuff there that you hadn't realized was still there. And you know, you don't always have to identify the exact moments. You don't always have to track it back to the exact experience. You just have to acknowledge the emotion, allow it, witness it, allow it to pass through. Sometimes you have to break down in order to break through. But when you break through, the sun rises and a new cycle begins. That is universal law. And that is available to you now. The only question is, do you want to free yourself from the past? Only you can answer that. Because for some people, although they'd like it, that too can be terrifying. Because who would you be without your wounds? Who would be without your mantle of victim or survivor? But I'm here to tell you, you will be a powerful creator of your own reality. You will be stepping into your own power, your own sense of your own authority. You will have a confidence in making your own decisions and choices because you will trust your own soul's guidance. Things that are right for you light you up. Things that are ick and feel off, that's your soul warning you. There's another perception, there's another perspective, there's another way of looking at this, there's another option, there's something better coming. And of course, you free will. You can choose to listen to that soul's guidance, your own inner guidance, your inner tuition, your inner teacher, your intuition, inner tuition, your teacher within. You know, you are your own teacher and you are your own student. Everything you need to know lies within. You just need to have faith in yourself. And to do that, you're going to have to face, acknowledge, and allow those older, heavier traumatic frequencies to leave your body. And you can do so without fear. You can do so in the knowledge you have already survived it. And I know I'm repeating myself. They make me repeat until the penny drops. So now you also got giving and receiving. The entire universe operates in cycles. What was I just saying? You can't make this stuff up. Sorry, operates in cycles, similar to your inhalations and exhalations. So again, breathing in your divinity, breathing in your life force energy, breathing in your own power, that infinite strength and power that is infinitely available to you in utter abundance. And as you breathe out, you let go of the stress and the worry. You let go of the heavier, stressful frequencies that don't feel good. You get to choose what you want to hold on to. So again, the importance of cycles and this infinite infinity energy. When you only exhale or give, or you only inhale, receive, you become out of rhythm with the universe. For optimal health, energy, and replenishment, balance each inhalation in your life with an exhalation. And again, what's coming through with this now as well is often trauma victims. You know, in order to survive, you learn to become a pleaser. You learn to become a good little girl or boy. And like, if you can make everybody else happy, then you'll be safer. So you become a constant giver. But you see, that gets very depleting. And because you didn't receive what you needed when you were younger, when somebody does try to give to you, because it's so unfamiliar, it can feel off. And it's like, what are you doing? Why are you being kind? Why are you being nice to me? I know I've certainly been guilty of that most of my life. I still have moments where I look like I'm sucking a lemon. You know, a friend might decide, you know, look, at coffee's on me today or lunch is on me today. And I have this inner war because, you know, I have 40 odd years of, no, I can pay for my own. I can do it myself. I don't need anybody. So although I've learned not to fight them and say no, sometimes I succeed in saying, oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. But there's other days where I can feel that inner war. And it's like I'm trying to choke back because I want to go, no, I don't need anybody. And then I manage to kind of, because I'm recognizing that's my own stuff being triggered and that it is safe to receive. Nobody has ulterior motives or expectations if I was to receive a sweet or, you know, whatever, that it is safe to receive. But rather than beating myself up and going, oh, I look like an idiot, I just go, now I own it. I take responsibility for my own crap that's bubbling up. And I'll turn to my friend and go, just give me a second till I, balance my little inner battle. You know, my little angel on one shoulder and a little devil on the other going, take it, don't take it, you know. And it's like, I just need to bring that balance and harmony and remind myself, my adult self, because I'm not that little girl. All is well, it's okay, and it is safe for me to receive. It is safe for me to allow somebody to be nice to me. And since I've started learning that and putting it into practice, my life is improving because it's more balanced. Whereas before that, I would give. I would try to please everybody, I would try to fix everybody, try to help everybody. But I never allowed anybody to give to me. I never allowed myself to receive. And this all just takes practice. It's not actually as hard as we think it will be. It does just take some practice. And again, just looking at this card, I'm looking at the animals, you know, and for me personally, lately, again, animals have been my lifeline. I've moved during lockdown to an area at least an hour and a quarter from the nearest person that I know. I'm isolated, but I'm happy because there are other beings. Because every living thing is a frequency, just like the stars and the planets, they're all frequency, it's all energy. And, you know, horses and ponies in particular have been my lifeline here. And I've had the privilege, you know, to witness folks, you know, seconds after being born, you know, and see them coming out of the sack and, you know, getting to interact with them and, you know, the trust that the mothers are, you know, placing in me and allowing me near their little ones. And same thing, like some of them have been, you know, wild. They haven't been trained or tamed. And, you know, I've earned their trust. And my God, that feels wonderful. And it's not always like sometimes we think we need to have these, like we need other people to make us happy. We don't. I've been getting such joy from interacting with horses and ponies and the birds. You know, my bird feeder. Sometimes I look out and there's 30 to 50 little birds all all over my bird feeding station, you know, and like sometimes watching them. There's one fat little lad that I call Gus Gus because, sometimes he reminds me of the mouse out of the Disney Cinderella, because he's definitely bigger than all the other little finches, but he's obviously eating more. And there's some days I'm chuckling to myself going, if you don't take it easy there, you won't be able to lift off. But it's kind of making me aware, there's not a huge difference between us and the animal kingdom. They have emotions. They can overeat. They can have similar issues to like we do. And sometimes I look at little Gus Gus out the back and I wonder, because eating would be my addiction. Food is my addiction. And I wonder, And again, I'm noticing him for a reason. There's synchronicities to everything. And it's like, I wonder what happens with him. Do the other birds pick on him? Do they dominate him? Like, does he eat more than he needs because it's comforting? And I'm watching some of the animals, some of the horses interacting. Apparently one of them lost her foal last year. She wasn't right afterwards. And yet so many people just use the term dumb animals. But these animals are teaching me so much. And again, they are frequency beings. The horses in particular, they're prey animals. It is in their DNA to flee from us. We are the biggest, baddest predator on the planet. And for a lot of us, we expect, right, horsey, I love horses, you're in my stable, you've got the best of everything and we're going to care for you. You've no need to fear. They don't understand our words. And if we're saying those things, if we're trying to soothe them, but we're coming from the place of, oh, I'm afraid of it, they feel our frequencies. And if you're feeling fear, they're feeling the fear. And those horses have taught me so much, to the point that my new neighbours think I'm a horse whisperer. I'm not. But I am learning to listen. I am learning to feel their frequencies. I'm learning to understand through feeling, which again is emphasizing the point of we have to stop shutting down our feeling abilities. We have to stop shutting out and repressing our feelings. Because, oh my God, when you allow yourself to feel, everything changes. You gain a deeper understanding of everything. There's even a cat teaching me lessons. I thought I hated cats. I don't. I just grew up hearing other people making nasty comments about them. And I just took that on and assumed that was my belief also. But do you know what? Charlie, the neighbouring cat, he's teaching me so much. And he's a wonderful little soul. And I met a neighbour out while I was walking recently. And, we got talking. And she had to mention that he's not a sociable, pleasant cat at all. He keeps to himself and doesn't even let them pet him. And I was gobsmacked because that's not my friend Charlie. That's not the cat that visits me. But again, I haven't taken it personally. It didn't happen overnight. I would see him, I would acknowledge him. I don't mind, he's welcome to come visit. And in time, he started to come along and he'd rub up against me. And I'd stroke him and he'd roll over and let me stroke his belly. Apparently, cats don't do that. I did not know that because I don't have that experience. But I'm starting to recognize that because I'm feeling, because I'm learning how to calm myself. I'm not this tempestuous person who was caught in a storm of her own emotions from all of her combined traumatic experiences through her life. I finally freed myself from most of it. Yes, I'm sure there'll be more triggers. It happened last week. I had a series of succession. A lot of things. I got hit and bombarded with some of those old traumatic frequencies. And they came so hard, so fast, and in quick succession. All back to back, that it sent me into a tailspin. And for a moment, I lost sight of who I am, the woman that I've become today. And she's actually very strong, very in tune, very in touch with herself and those around her, which is why I'm gaining the ability to help other people and animals, because I'm beginning to understand, because I feel them. And that is a gift we all have, should we choose to let go and allow it. Now, we also got healthy lifestyle. Archangel Raphael. Eat a healthy food diet, get adequate sleep, and exercise regularly for optimum health. And again, you know, we don't always, some do, but a huge majority of us, and especially when it comes to comfort food. And like I've already said, food would be my addiction. I have been, almost 20 stone. My weight has fluctuated. I've learned to love and accept myself. I actually lost weight in the first part of lockdown because, I wasn't worrying. For the first time in my life, I didn't worry. And I wasn't thinking about being on a diet. And I was starting to feel better. I was starting to let things go. I was starting to look for positive things. I was starting to listen to upbeat music and not watch stressful and anxiety inducing programs. Like, in fact, I don't even have a TV anymore and haven't for over a year now. Actually, I'm lying. A friend dropped one off recently. But again, I've no desire to plug it in. I appreciate the gift. But TV, no, it's usually stress inducing, anxiety reducing, inducing, full of ads that make me feel bad about myself. And I've learned to love myself. I've learned to accept that I am a full figured woman. I will never be skinny. And in fact, I don't want to be skinny. I remember getting once to the black line on a BMI chart where, I was just on the black line between okay and overweight. And I was convinced I had to lose more weight to get well into the okay, healthy weight range. And people were worried about me. And I was like, no, I have to do this, like, and the hospital says. And then I saw a photo of myself. And I was gaunt. My bones, it was like my rib cage was just sticking out here. All you could see was my rib cage. It looked awful. I looked ill. I did not look healthy. And I remember, we accept all of these norms and, doctors say you have to do this. But a friend was getting married once. And, I was looking at her going, oh my God, I wish I had looked like you and had your figure. And she was saying the same to me. And neither of us could see that there was nothing wrong with either of us. And suddenly the husband-to-be slammed his hands on the table and went, Jesus, will you two stop it? You look the same. Why don't you get a measuring tape and check it out? So we did. And do you know what? We're the same height. All of our measurements were identical, except my arms, my upper arm was an inch smaller, but my thighs were an inch bigger. So that kind of cancels out because every other measurement and height was the same. But do you know what? There was a 2.5 stone difference in our weight. And that spoke volumes to me. In that moment, I gained an awareness that just because something is said does not necessarily make it so. It would not be healthy for me to go into the BMI chart of okay, healthy weight. Because when I went there, I was not well. I looked wretched and I didn't feel good. I'm overweight now. I could probably not morbidly obese anymore, but I don't know. I'm not even checking anymore because I don't care. Because for the first time in my life, I'm healthier than I've ever been. I'm having miraculous healing. I have regained 23% in my renal function. My kidney, not kidneys, because I had a 9-pound one removed a couple of years ago. And the one that's there is about 6 pounds and completely covered in cysts within and without. And it's starting to repair. It's regenerating. It is working better than ever before. I don't know how. I don't know if it's healing itself and it's going to shrink down and become a nice healthy kidney the size of my fist the way it should be. It doesn't matter. I don't even need to understand. But you know what? I do appreciate it. And the more I resonate in that frequency of appreciation of my health and my well-being, and the more I appreciate and become aware of how wonderful it is to have that little bit more energy. Now look, I'm not bounced off the wall. I still have impaired renal function. But you know what? I'm not as ill as I used to be. I'm improving. I'm feeling better. And that's wonderful. And that has stemmed from letting go all of that stress and anxiety and tension. And look, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not telling you ignore your doctor's advice. I still attend hospitals. Without Western medicine, I would not be alive today. I needed those life saving surgeries. I'm just saying, do trust yourself and don't allow charts. Because again, apparently that chart was made like back during war era. We've evolved as a species since then, and things are different. So again, health and wellness is more of a priority really than dress size or numbers on a scale. How do you feel? Treat yourself with respect. Eat healthily, and you do feel a difference. If you can swap out some of the heavier junk foods and sugary stuff and switch it to the natural, like fruits and that, you do feel better. Now, I'll own it. Don't do it all the time. In fact, lately, I've been eating a lot of crap. But do you know what? I felt it. Food is medicine. And I do know when I eat well, and again, not all the time. And I don't believe it has to be all the time. I tried being a vegan for 4 weeks. It was the worst 4 weeks of my life. I got incredibly ill and I looked wretched. It does not suit me. I'm the kind of person that needs a little bit of meat protein. But I don't eat a fraction of what I used to. Not because I'm trying not to, but because I'm more myself. I don't want to. There's some days I'm eating meat purely because it's in the fridge and it needs to be used, not because I want it. So again, I need to now make my own changes and maybe buy a little bit less when I'm doing the groceries. Making healthier lifestyle choices. Not because I have to, not because anybody is dictating to me and telling me I have to, but because I'm noticing that's what my body wants. That's what feels right to me. Now, something's telling me to go with this deck. I was hoping to be let off the hook. Oh, so let me ask you, how are you feeling about your inner child right now? Are you still feeling like criticizing, that inner brat? Because it's not your brat. That's you. It's all those wounded parts of you. And yeah, the behavior can, you needed it to survive. Now it's become something kind of destructive. It doesn't have to be anymore. You just need to turn and face it and have some compassion and love for yourself. You can set yourself free. You can empower yourself. But you have to acknowledge those feelings. Do not fear them. You have already survived it. Do not forget that. You have already survived it. What we got here? Willpower. There you go. Do you have the will to do what's necessary? Do you have the will to turn and receive your power? Look at that. Look at her. Look at all of that divine energy. The energy that built worlds, that created planets. It's right at her fingertips. If she has the will to just embrace it and create it. You can create your own reality. You can take yourself from the darkness and bring yourself to the light. We create our own hell on earth by focusing on constantly replaying the old traumas. If you're watching a movie and there's a horrible, horrific scene in it, you don't press rewind and replay that awful scene over and over again. Yet that's what we've developed a habit of doing when it comes to our daily lives. We keep replaying and reliving the traumatic events. Perhaps it's time for us to start replaying, rewinding and replaying the happy events. Put our focus on the things that feel good in order to help lift us up, remind us what feeling good feels like. Because for most of us, we've forgotten that. And we now associate the feeling of relief with feeling good. But that's not feeling good. That's just things aren't as bad as they were last week. So I don't feel quite as wound up. But that's not feeling good. Start doing things that make you laugh. Start doing things that light you up. Use your willpower. Use your will to connect with your power, because you have free will. You get to choose. The choice is yours, and whether you do or you don't, the choice is yours, and that's okay. Because nobody gets to dictate what is the correct choice for you or not. Only you know that. I'm just here to make you aware of the potential that is right on your fingertips. There is support, there is power, there is frequency and energy available to you, powerful enough to create worlds that flows within you. That is your soul's energy. That is the great oneness. No matter your faith, most of the religions, they have similar messages in different teachings. To know me, know thyself. And I believe the ancient Egyptians had something along, slightly different wording. It's the same message. And God said, to know me, know thyself. Because again, we each have that stream of consciousness. We have that soul wisdom within us, because that is who we are. Now, something saying to read the meaning of that card, so that I shall do, and hopefully we can sign off. So, willpower. Your impulsive behavior invites temptation in, and you cannot resist being enticed. The motto, life's too short, has attracted all sorts of attention, as well as some naughty behavior, and in the past you found that trouble has followed you. It's time to put that behind you now, as you take responsibility and grow up. Sorry. Instead of giving in to temptation, determine whether or not you are being lured for your highest good. You can trust your own inner wisdom. A test of strength of character is required to conquer a lazy attitude. Focus and willpower will keep you from destruction, leading you to a resolution and a firmness of purpose. Now, as I'm reading that, something's coming in really strongly as well, something that I saw on one of those little posty things. Some days it's just so difficult to muster the strength to get off the couch or get out of bed. You are not lazy. You are emotionally exhausted. You have spent so much of your life in survival mode that you are exhausted. So instead of criticizing yourself, calling yourself names like lazy, etc., instead of judging yourself and comparing yourself to somebody who's out running marathons, be kind to yourself. Give yourself permission to take that well-earned rest. You are not in survival mode anymore, but you have to let that go. Give yourself permission to have that day of rest or week of rest, whatever you need. It's going to be different for every individual. But instead of criticizing yourself, allow yourself. Talk to yourself with kindness. Wow, we've been through a rough ordeal. We've really faced a lot. No wonder you're tired. No wonder you don't feel like getting up and doing anything. And I promise you, because I used to spend days on couch, just unable to move. I do know how that feels. And in your head, you're getting up doing all sorts, but before you know it, hours have passed and you're still in that same prone position because you just cannot muster the strength to move. And even now, I have the occasional day where I get up in the morning and it's like, ugh, I don't want to. But instead of calling myself names, instead of berating myself, I now just go, do you know what? You've been doing a lot, Amanda. You've been taking on a lot. You've been helping transmute other people's frequencies. You've been giving a lot of yourself lately. Perhaps you just need to rest. You can have today off. You don't have to get dressed. It's okay to stay in pajamas. And do you know what started happening? Do you know what I've noticed? I don't need the day. Often by 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock the latest, suddenly I'm getting energy. I'm getting impulses to get up and do something, go out for a walk or go visit the horses in the various places around my location here. You know, when we give ourselves permission, when we be kind to ourselves, often that divine inspiration, that energy, it comes to us. It's only when we do the negative self-talk, when we're criticizing ourselves, when we're calling ourselves lazy and useless and good for nothing, that pinches us off from our connection. That's heavy. They're heavy, dense frequencies. They literally weigh. It's like something sitting on you. How do I know this? I spent most of my existence in those frequencies. It's not pleasant. But you know what? Since I've got a taste of what feeling good feels like, that's my priority now. And yeah, I still have wobbles and bad days, but I'm starting to be kind to myself. I'm starting to love that little girl inside me because do you know what? She got me to where I am. I survived because of her. And yeah, some of her survival mechanisms and behaviours haven't served me in aspects of my adult life. But I'm beginning to understand that now. And I love her even more for it. She's a wonderfully strong, resilient little girl. And I'm now starting to allow her to wonder at the world again. And I'm even starting to regain memories. Most of my childhood, I've no memory of it. But now I'm starting to get little flashes. When I'm looking at something in wonder, I get a flash of myself as a child somewhere. I remember, like, got one recently when I was marveling at the foals, the newborn foals, and how quickly they're gaining strength. Hi, Tony. Welcome. I'm about to go, but you just caught me. When I found myself marveling at these things in wonder, I got a little flash of memory, a good memory, not a traumatic one. Because you know what? Under all that trauma, there were moments of good stuff. And I got a flash as a little girl being brought in some big cathedral type place. And I remember being mesmerized and in total awe of the beauty of the extravagance and, the elaborate ornamentation and just the sheer beauty of it. And it's like I'm starting to gain some childhood memories, but not the trauma, not the horrible flashbacks that make me react physically and, think it's going to happen again. I'm starting to regain the good stuff. And that's because I'm tuning in to the higher vibrations. I'm making a conscious effort to give myself priority, to allow myself time to heal, to be kind to myself, to nurture my inner child, because it's time to honor them. Our inner children, they got us here. But now it's time to be the grown ups. It's time to take them in your embrace, give them a cuddle, thank them for getting you through all those terrible times. But you're the grown up now. You've got this. Tell them they're safe. Nurture them. Protect them. Honor them. And go live your life. The life that you choose, not what others dictate. The life that feels good to you. The life that lifts you up and makes you happy. Only you know what that is. And you have the free will to choose. So choose wisely. Now, on that note, I'm going to say farewell for now. I hope this message is of benefit to you. Please feel free to leave comments down below. And please do like, subscribe, and feel free to share if you feel it would help anybody. All right, take care. Love to you all. Bye.